Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Tonight's film is 1973's Blue Summer. Now, Blue Summer is a film, 1973, that is part of the Skin in the 70s 4 films on 2 DVDs collection. Okay, this is a collection of films. It has 4 films on this set here, and it's a fairly cheap set. I think it was about, you could probably get it for about $18, which is not a bad deal for 4 films, and they even have some trailers. You can watch it in like a kind of like a grindhouse type of way. But these are films that really are not available at all or easily separately on DVD or VHS. But this, we're looking to tonight at Blue Summer, the first film on here, Blue Summer, and the other ones will probably be reviewed on this YouTube page in the future: Teenage Divorce, Sometimes Sweet Susan, and Summer School Teachers. But I picked this up through Import CDs, the used seller on Amazon, and got it for about $11. So here we go. It is 1973's Blue Summer. From this set right here. This is a film that was actually directed by Chuck Vincent. Chuck Vincent directed 2 films that I have reviews for on this YouTube page: Sex Appeal and Cheerleader Beach Party. And he was known for these types of sexploitation, even adult films. And here is his 1973 film. Now, we have an actress in here. Chris Jordan was one of the names that she went by, I believe. She was Mouse, the lead in another film that I reviewed in this page, Teenage Hitchhikers, with Sandra Peabody. So she is in this film as well. Blue Summer is essentially a road trip film. It's essentially a time capsule 70s road trip film. 2 guys take a van and they say goodbye to their parents. They lie to their parents, telling them that they are going to be going, staying at each other's uncle's houses. And instead, they decide they just want to, quote unquote, bum it. They just want to go wherever the wind takes them. Total 70s freedom. Total freedom. Free love. Free everything. And basically take guesses where they're going. Right turns, left turns, doesn't even matter. It's time for freedom before they have to go to college. Okay, so this is essentially the vibe of the film, and the film fills in this road trip with the people that they meet along the way. Some of them are repeat people that they meet along the way, and of course the sexual adventures that they have along the way, and so the women that they're meeting along the way as well. This is a film, as I said, is a time capsule film. I mean, 1973. This is very low budget, very this is a sexploitation film slash almost adult. I mean, it's one of those films that really, it's seemingly pretty darn obvious that they were actually having sex, but for whatever reasons you don't actually see penetration or anything else like that. And the actual people in the film were adult film stars. Maybe not all of them, but a good number of them were, at least the leads, I believe, from looking them up. So, and Chris Jordan from Teenage Hitchhikers did some adult film work as well. So, but it's one of those films that would definitely today, get an NC-17, not an R. This is not an R-rated film. But it looks like this is the original cut, and for whatever reason, it was not not hardcore. But it's pretty obvious they're actually having sex. It reminds me of the last section of the film Teenage Hitchhikers, actually. The big orgy scene, which they were all actually having sex, but why you weren't actually seeing that maybe had something to do with the type of film they were trying to make or something. And so this is Blue Summer. We're going to get into the music first. The music of this film is amazing. It really is amazing. There is music all throughout this film. The guys are popping in 8 tracks into their homemade stereo in the van for their road trip, as well as people playing the flute, at some points, and then of course just music throughout the whole film. Of course, music during the sex scenes, and the music is just fantastic. The opening song for this film almost sounds modern in a way. It was really interesting. It almost sounds modern in some bizarre way, And I can't even describe it, but it was really, really catchy and interesting and appealing. And it had lyrics. There's a good number of songs in here that have lyrics, and then of course you have a lot of songs that are just funky, 70s rock, uh, kind of, very sleazy, but also psychedelic and 70s fuzzy and trippy. Almost pieces sound like they could be, in a Grateful Dead jam, in one of their space jams. So it really has a lot of textures. I mean, this would just be an unbelievable soundtrack if it was released on CD or vinyl or tape or whatever. Just a great soundtrack. Um, it just a lot of different pieces of music throughout the film, and of course you do have kind of a medley theme, I believe, that pops up occasionally. But it's just a really, really just excellent music if you like 70s sleazy or 70s psychedelic or 70s rock. And then mixing in some, some country and some, just some blues rock, fuzzy, all that in there. It's really, really great stuff. Awesome, awesome music. This was a film that I really found interesting in that from the get-go, like the first 15 minutes of the film, I mean, I was just sucked into this movie. I mean, if somebody said, oh, this is a movie about these guys just having sex, it's, some people label it a pornographic film. Some people just label it a sexploitation film. You're just in it for the sex. That's what typically, naysayers will say about these types of films. The first 15 minutes of this film, from the interaction between the two guys, the way the two guys try to leave the house, the interaction with their families before as they're leaving and packing up the van, there is such an appeal to this film in the way that it's made, in the way that it's done, and in the characters, and in the acting, and in the comedy, and in the realness of the dialogue, and in just in a way that you really are kind of having a blast with these guys. And all the characters that they meet throughout this film, I don't like to give anything away, but there is such a range of weird and interesting and normal, but then seemingly not, along the way, and it just keeps the heartbeat of the movie just pumping along, and it's really, really, it's interesting. It's actually interesting. Of course, you have sex scenes in the film, and there's a lot of sex in the film, but like I said, there's no penetration. It's not hardcore, and they're even there. They're pretty erotic sex scenes, and you can tell that they're doing it, and people are attractive. As they come along the way. And there's even appeal to that with the different angles that are done in there, and the different positions, and the music, of course, and even these are old films, so even this is real grain, this is real, exploitation, this is real grindhouse type of film here. This is not manipulated. And there's just such an interesting vibe in here. There was one character in here that reminded me of a character in the Keanu Reeves, Lori Loughlin 90s film called The Night Before, which I've reviewed on this YouTube page. And there was a character that just keeps popping up along the way. And there's a character in The Night Before that keeps popping up along the way, and you keep hearing in his stereo, ba-da-da-da, ba-da, ba-da. Well, in this film, there is a character also on a motorcycle, and it's just interesting the way this character is and the way this character interacts in these two guys' road trip story adventure. And you'll have to see to find out. But and it's really, you can really tell from that motorcycle character how complex and how interesting we're gonna go with these characters, and some running themes of this film are definitely freedom, free love, but freedom, no preparation, no plan, just go. Just live, just go. But the interesting thing with that 70s theme is that they actually meet one particular group that really lives out that theme in a way of like the hippie communes and sharing. And the guys experience negativity with that. Okay, some interesting things, and they even come in some run-ins with some violence. There's some violence and some darker spots, but there's just so much interesting stuff here. I mean, like Hollywood puts out these road trip movies, like a movie called Road Trip. And this is the real deal, 1973 style. This is the real deal. Great characters all along the way, and of course, that element of kind of carefree. And there's also this huge element in this film of kind of everybody wanting to get one over on each other, like everybody wanting to take something from somebody else, like whether it be money, whether it be sex, or ulterior motives. So even with this theme of free love and just freedom in general, just freedom, there's this contrasting element in the film of um, kind of some of the consequences of that freedom, which is, people just being completely selfish in a way, or just wanting to completely just only look out for themselves. And it's very realistic, and what you would experience on a country road maybe in 1973, maybe, so lots of people hitchhiking. That doesn't happen anymore in 2016, of course, but so you have this whole vibe, and it's such a great time capsule. And really, the two males in this film, the two leads in the film who are driving the van, they're really, I mean, they gotta take this film, right? They gotta move this film. If they're not interesting, if you're not on their side, if you don't like their dialogue, if you don't like their relationship with each other, then you're just, this movie's gonna say they're awesome. Right from the get-go, I was like, I love these guys. They have a great camaraderie. They have a great friendship. I believe them, and there's this subtle kind of the end of freedom and the beginning of adulthood in some way, and how scary the future is, and just to live in the now. But the now will eventually have to end, and the future will begin. So there's just this awesome element in here. And in terms of the sexuality of the film, the nudity, we have full nudity, but you don't see any penises. But you do see, the girls, but not close up, actually. It's the actual positions, the sexual positions and everything that are the most explicit in the film, doggy style, 69, oral, all this kind of stuff. I mean, you almost could see, like, just for 1 second, you're like, my gosh, if that camera just moved just a little bit more, this would be a hardcore film, but it doesn't go there. So it could appeal to a lot more people. And I actually like when the movies are like this. I like this kind of this in between R and X territory. To me, it almost seems more erotic, and it seems more. I don't know, in a way, it's more interesting to me or something. And it really, really works for this film. So if you like films of that ilk, in between, R and X, like lots of films I've reviewed in this page, like Cheerleaders, Teenage Hitchhikers, stuff like that, this would definitely be one for you. And it's a really, really interesting film, because this film is obviously a sex film, but it's much more than that. It's just an adventure, and it's interesting, and it's characters, and it's friendship, and its stories. It can almost be looked at, a road trip film could almost be looked at as an anthology film of sorts, because there's so many characters, which breeds so many stories. And the two leads are, the arcs story. They're the continuing story throughout it. So this is 1973's Blue Summer. Great film. You can get it on the Skin in the 70s set. Here it is right here. And this is put out by Secret Key Motion Pictures. AlternativeCinema.com, actually, is who puts it out. And if any of you are ever curious, no, I do not work for any of these people. I just save my money up, and I collect movies and like to talk about them. That's it. I don't work for anybody. I wish I did. That'd be great. I would love to work in the movie business, but no, I don't at all. This is just my passion. This is what I love, and I want to talk about these films. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films, like I said, that I think need to be talked about more. On this page, there's tons. Exploitation, sexploitation, adult, horror, weird, bizarre, surreal. It's all here. Thank you so much, folks. And please feel free to check out my own personal films at youtube.com/poopy diarrhea. And I don't make any money on my personal films. Have a great night.